World Cup 2026 qualifying resumed in the September international window for Asia and South America, and some absolutely insane results happened. Back-to-back Asia Cup champions Qatar are winless in their first two games, so are Australia, who dropped points to some relatively easier opponents. China have 0 points with a -8 goal difference. Well, to be honest, that isn't really that surprising. Bolivia are actually in contention to qualify for the World Cup, while Brazil are at risk of not qualifying at all, etc, etc. So as you can see, there have been many insane results and upsets. And with that, let's take a look at everything that happened in the September international window regarding the World Cup 2026 qualifiers. Real quick though, I have now created a second YouTube channel where I'm going to upload a lot more freaking videos about football, so please be a real one and check out the channel and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Okay, back to World Cup qualifying. Let's start off with Group A at the Asian World Cup qualifiers, where we got Qatar, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Uzbekistan, North Korea, and Kyrgyzstan playing for a ticket at the 2026 World Cup. And just a reminder, for every group at Asia's World Cup qualifying third round, the first two places in the group get an automatic ticket to the World Cup, while third and fourth place go to the next round of qualifying, and fifth and sixth place will be eliminated. Had to say that part just in case y'all don't remember. Anyways, starting off with the first game of Group A, we had Uzbekistan taking on North Korea at home. And man, this game was closer than what everybody was expecting. If you've been following Asian football, you would know that Uzbekistan's national team is on the rise lately, and they've been killing it in the youth game recently too, with them winning the AFC Under-20 Asian Cup just last year. But North Korea are no pushovers. Nobody knows what sort of training regime they got over there in Pyongyang, but it's working because their national team is actually pretty good. They even developed one of my favorite players, Han Kwang-song, who participated in this game and has experience playing for Cagliari and even Juventus. So North Korea got some ballers too. And I said this before in my previous World Cup qualifying video that did very well. Thank you guys for that, by the way. But I want to see North Korea at the World Cup. I need that USA versus North Korea opening match more than anything. But sadly, this game wasn't one of North Korea's best. And that's because Uzbekistan dominated the match at home, getting most of the chances, and even scoring early on in the 20th minute thanks to a strike from Masharpov. But out of nowhere, and what felt like North Korea's first real chance, they won a penalty and got the chance to equalize the match from the spot. However, number 17, Kuk Chol Kang, stepped up to the spot and had his penalty saved. It should have been Han Kwang-song taking it from the spot, man. But anyways, that was North Korea's best opportunity that wasn't taken advantage of. And with that, Uzbekistan won the game 1-0 to start their third round campaign with 3 points. On to the next game of Group A, we had Iran versus Kyrgyzstan. Now, Iran is definitely one of the biggest Asian powerhouses. I mean, they've qualified for like 3 World Cups in a row now, and even made the semifinals of the last Asian Cup. But right now, it feels like they're going through somewhat of a dark period. Sure, Mehdi Taremi is still a global sensation, with him joining Inter Milan and playing decently well for them so far, but Iran's other superstar, Sardar Azmoun, decided he likes horses more than football and left Europe to join a club in the United Arab Emirates.
Oh no, this can't be.
But regardless, Iran is still levels ahead of Kyrgyzstan on paper, so they should be able to handle business. Little did they know though, Kyrgyzstan was going to be a much tougher task than they thought. And what surprised me most about the Kyrgyz was not their football ability. No. It's the fact that they have a black man on their team named Joel Kojo. When I found this out, I was in shock. Not that it's a bad thing, by the way, do not get it twisted. I think it's super dope that an immigrant like Joel Kojo, who came from Ghana, is allowed to represent the country that he spent numerous years in for his career. And for that, I have also now become Joel Kojo's biggest fan. That's my guy. Sadly though, he didn't do too much in this game, and Taremi's goal in the 34th minute sealed an underwhelming 1-0 victory for the Iranians. 3 points is 3 points though. And now let's move on to the last game of match day 1 in Group A, where we got Qatar playing the United Arab Emirates. Now, although Qatar performed extremely poorly at the World Cup they hosted, these guys are currently the kings of Asian football at the moment. Not only did they win the Asian Cup back in 2019, their first one ever, but they went back-to-back literally just this year and won their second Asian Cup ever after defeating Jordan 3-1 in the final due to 3 penalties.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
The reason why I'm mentioning this though is Qatar is a really good national team in the Asian football scene, and compared to them to the UAE, they've been dominating their Middle Eastern counterparts for over a decade. In fact, in the last 7 matches that they played each other in, Qatar have scored 3 goals or more in 6 out of those 7 games. That's how much Qatar owned the UAE, and it seemed like they were going to continue this in the third round of Asian World Cup qualifying, especially with Qatar playing at home, and also especially with Qatar dominating the first half entirely, creating a ton of chances, and eventually in the 38th minute, Al Hassan gets a goal to make this dominance count and put the Qatar national team 1-0 up heading into halftime. But at halftime, something changed for the UAE national team. Maybe a sheikh promised everybody on the team a Lamborghini or something if they managed to come back, because the UAE came back switched on. It felt like a whole different national team pulled up for the second half. And in the 68th minute, Abdallah displayed incredible skill, sending 2 Qatari defenders to a different country and scored an amazing goal to equalize the match. Then in the 80th minute, after Qatar started slowly getting back in the game, Ibrahim goes on a solo run and blasts one into the top of the net to give his side a shocking 2-1 lead. But oh, that's not it, because in added time, when Qatar were giving it their all to try and get a result for for this match, Ali Saleh, the substitute, also hit a ball into the roof of the net to give UAE a third and final goal of the match, and this would give his country an unlikely 3-1 away in Qatar. And with that, the UAE started off this third round of World Cup qualifying with 3 points, and put an end to Qatar's unbeaten run that they had. But the drama in Group A is nowhere near complete, because we still gotta talk about match day 2. And we're gonna start by talking about Qatar again, when they had to play North Korea away, but don't worry, they didn't have to go to Pyongyang or anything. The match was actually played in Laos. And does anybody know why North Korea are not playing their home games in Pyongyang? Because I know they wanted to play Japan there, but now it seems like they're still playing in Laos for some reason. If y'all know the answer, just let me know down in the comments. Anyways, regarding this match, I have an agenda for North Korea, like I said. So I wanted North Korea to put up some points on the board, or else I would say that this World Cup dream is over.
It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good.
But the game started off the exact opposite way than I thought it would. I keep underestimating the North Koreans, damn. Because North Korea started off the better side in this match, generating the better chances. And eventually, this beginning domination would pay off in the 19th minute, and that's thanks to an absolute rocket from Ri Il-sung, who blasted it into the top corner from outside the box to give his country the 1-0 lead. What an amazing strike from the 20-year-old North Korean. However, right when North Korea were in dreamland, Qatar had a counterattack and Almoz Ali ended up getting fouled in the box by Jang Kong-chol, the captain of the team, and he ended up getting sent off for the challenge, and North Korea went down to 10 men. I thought double jeopardy wasn't a thing anymore, where you can't give away a penalty and get a red card at the same time, unless it was like a handball in the line or something like Luis Suarez did back in 2010. But I guess Asia's got different rules or something? I don't really know. Anyways, Akram Afif, the man who scored a hat-trick off penalties in the 2024 Asia Cup final, was never going to miss from the spot, and he equalized for the Qataris in the 31st minute. But things go from bad to worse for the North Koreans, because in the 44th minute, one of the top goal scorers in World Cup qualifying, Almoz Ali, blasts the ball into the top of the net to give his country the 2-1 lead in the game right before halftime. I swear, why does Asian World Cup qualifying only have banger goals? Not a single normal goal in this region, for real. But then in the second half, the rain started pouring hard, and I guess North Korea did better in the rain because they started getting most of the chances. And Kang Kong-chol, damn, all these names are kind of similar, what the hell? Are they all twins or something?
That's gotta be racist, there's no way.
But anyways, Kang Kong-chol will take advantage of playing in the rain, something Qatar ain't used to, which makes sense. After all, they literally live in one of the driest climates ever. They literally are a desert country. But like I was saying, Kang Kong-chol then strikes a free kick from way downtown and somehow managed to hit it top bins and equalize the game 2-2. Bro, like I said, every goal is a banger. And eventually, Qatar weren't able to handle playing on this wet surface, and the 10-man North Korea survived this match against the champions and escaped with a 2-2 draw, getting their first point of the third round of World Cup qualifying, which was a huge win for them, especially with 10 men. And they're not even playing at home technically. They played in Laos only in front of like 140 people. That's wild. Qatar, on the other hand, have been massively disappointing, and maybe their World Cup hopes are in early jeopardy here. But enough about Qatar. It's time to move on to one of the matches of the window in Kyrgyzstan versus Uzbekistan. This match was absolute peak fiction, just like One Piece. If you know, you know. Now this game started off with a bang, and I'm not talking about the match yet. I'm talking about the fact that there was a random Spider-Man in the crowd for Kyrgyzstan. Peter Parker, bro, we need you back in New York. What the hell are you doing over there in Asia? Anyways, now the match did start off with a bang, because in the 15th minute, Joel Kojo, the man himself, gets the ball into the middle of the box and hits it straight into the back of the net to put his country up 1-0. I told you, man. Joel Kojo, that's my boy. Who's the best player in Kyrgyzstan? Is it Mischenko? Is it Shukurov? Is it Kensabayev? Is it Kozobayev? Is it Zaribekov? No, it's a man named Joel. My goat. But this lead didn't last too long. In fact, it literally lasted less than 2 minutes, because the Roma striker, Shomurodov, lets the ball glide past him and put the ball into the back of the net to equalize quickly for the Uzbeks. Oh, but wait, y'all thought Uzbekistan was just gonna run through Kyrgyzstan now? No. Because in the 35th minute, a man who has like 20 letters in his name, Abdurakhmonov, gets on the end of a loose cross, and somehow the ball ended up in the back of the net to give his country a surprising 2-1 lead in the match. Now Kyrgyzstan were doing all they could to keep this lead, but it only lasted 10 minutes, I'm not gonna lie. Because right before halftime in the 45th minute, Ali Kulov scored to equalize the game yet again.
I can't fucking compete! I just can't fucking compete!
Now in my head, I was hoping that Kyrgyzstan could hold on to the lead and maybe escape this game with a point or something, because that definitely would have made this group a lot more interesting than it already is. But I guess I was hoping for too much, because Uranov skills his way past the opposing defenders and scores in the 72nd minute to seal a 3-2 win for the Uzbeks and set them well on their way to a potential World Cup spot in 2026, with them sealing 6 out of 6 points. But man, I feel for the Kyrgyz, bro. I hope they find a way to bounce back, especially my guy Joel Kojo. That's my dog for real. And now for the last match of Group A so far, we have the United Arab Emirates versus Iran. I was thinking that maybe the UAE could pull off this slight upset. After all, they literally just did that against Qatar away from home. So who says they can't do that against an Iran side that's going through some difficult times right now at home? Well, Iran has something to say, because thanks to the number 10, Gaede's goal and added time of the first half, Iran managed to secure a 1-0 victory. But don't worry, UAE, you also got plenty of time to potentially secure a ticket to the World Cup. Just, I'm gonna need y'all to lose against North Korea for agenda purposes in the next window. Sorry, lads.
It's not personal, son. It's strictly business.
With all that being said, here's how Group A looks like after 2 match days. We got Uzbekistan in first place right now with 6 points and 4 goals forwarded, which is the reason why they're first. Then we got Iran in second place with them getting 2 1-0 results. Then the UAE are in third place with 3 points. North Korea are in fourth with 1 point. Okay, we take those. Then Qatar is in fifth place, which is very surprising. And sadly, my dog Joel Kojo and Kyrgyzstan are in last place in their group with 0 points. But I still believe in them. Trust. Anyways, it's now finally time to talk about the Asian World Cup qualifying Group B, where we've got the likes of South Korea, Iraq, Oman, Jordan, Palestine, and Kuwait. Now, out of the 3 Asian World Cup qualifying groups left, none of them are normal, but this might be the most normal one so far. You'll see why. But before we get on with that, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it, and it means a lot, so thank you. And also, if you guys can, follow my Twitter and my Instagram, both at Nabuto, if you just want to hear my thoughts on football games, transfers, and overall, just to get to know me more. So if you want to, feel free to hit me up with that follow. Thank you. Back to topic, let's start off with South Korea versus Palestine in Seoul. Now, South Korea dominated the match. I mean, they had 16 shots, 5 on target, with 76% possession, but they didn't make any of that count because the game ended in a 0-0 stalemate, which was very disappointing for South Korea because they were playing at home. So the expectation was to win the game, and their players on paper are significantly better. I mean, Heung-min Son, Lee Kang-in, Kim Min-jae, Hwang Hee-chan, etc. They're all technically better than any Palestine player. So to not win this game has got to be disappointing. But honestly, I gotta feel for Palestine, man. With everything going on with them is really disheartening and sad. So the fact that they can go to Seoul and somehow snatch a point is super inspiring to see. And man, if Palestine somehow makes the World Cup from this difficult group, hats off to them, man. And they low-key got a chance to do exactly that. You'll see soon. Let's now move on to Iraq versus Oman. And this game was being played at home in Iraq in front of almost 64,000 people. You know the Iraqi home fans go crazy too. Playing away in there must be difficult, which is why it was always an uphill battle for Oman, who typically are a pretty solid Asian nation of football. Anyways, Iraq are on the come up again, and they low-key had a good chance of winning this Asia Cup that just happened too. But they absolutely fumbled the bag against Jordan in the round 16. I swear, if they just got through that, they had a pretty simple route to the final, I must say. Anyways, the man who got sent off in that game, Hussein, managed to give Iraq the lead in this game against Oman from a corner in the 13th minute. And despite both teams getting the chances throughout the match, this game would end in a 1-0 victory for Iraq. Not the most convincing victory, but 3 points is 3 points. Tough luck for Oman. Playing away in Iraq must be difficult, so I can't blame him. And now it's time for Jordan versus Kuwait in Oman. And Jordan should have had this one in the bag. I mean, their national team was on the come up too, and they are the recent AFC Asia Cup finalists, so this game should have been an easy 3 points. I mean, it's Kuwait, bro, with all due respect. It should have been my country instead, India. Man, this is some bullshit.
It should have been me, not him.
Anyways, in this match, Kuwait had more of the possession, but Jordan were the ones dominating the chances. However, despite Jordan getting so many chances in the game, they only managed to score 1 goal, and it was through Al-Tamari, Jordan's best player in my opinion, who scored in the 14th minute to get the lead from the home side. Now, everybody and their mother thought that Jordan was going to get the 3 points, regardless of whether they scored 1 more goal or not. But we were so very wrong, because in the 90+2nd minute, right when Jordan were about to secure the 3 points, they gave away a silly and unnecessary penalty due to a stupid foul. And Nasser, the captain, stepped up to the spot and equalized the match for Kuwait, making sure the game ended in a 1-1 draw. Meaning Kuwait somehow snatched a point from Jordan away to them. Bro, if that was India, I swear we would have gotten battered like 7-0 or something.
Oh, that was uncalled for.
Let's now move on to match day 2 for Group B. And we did get some better games this time. And let's start off with Palestine versus Jordan. Now obviously Palestine aren't actually playing at home with everything going on. And instead, they were playing in Malaysia. I feel bad, man. This is so unfair for Palestine for real. But that is a situation, isn't it? And the game even started off bad for them, because in the 5th minute, Al-Lemma had an incredible solo moment and somehow finished the ball into the back of the net to give the Jordanians an early 1-0 lead. But luckily, right before halftime, despite Jordan dominating the chances and the possession, Palestine found a way back, with one of their first chances in the game going into the back of the net thanks to an open header from Wissam Ali, a man who just switched international allegiances from Denmark to Palestine to represent his ethnic country. Fair enough, but unluckily for Palestine, 5 minutes into the second half, Jordan had an amazing attacking sequence, and Al-Lemma once again slams the ball into the back of the net to return the lead back to Jordan, and Al-Rawabdeh scored for Jordan in the 72nd minute to secure a 3-1 win and get their World Cup qualifying campaign back on track. But don't worry, Palestine, it's still too early to call. The chance for you to make the World Cup, or more likely, the next round of World Cup qualifying, is still there. And now let's move on to Oman versus South Korea. This was a match to keep an eye on, especially with both of these national teams that have good pedigree in Asia not performing well on match day 1, with Oman losing to Iraq and South Korea drawing to Palestine at home. So some might say that this was a must-win game for both national teams, especially Oman with them playing at home. But beating South Korea was going to be no easy task, and they showed why in the 10th minute, with the striker Hwang Hee-chan, the man who scored the iconic goal against Portugal at the World Cup to send South Korea through to the round 16, scored against Oman from outside the box to give the South Koreans a 1-0 lead. But I do have to say, man, South Korea might have the best kits in all of international football. That pink home jersey is sexy, but this black away jersey is also sexy. South Korea, take my money.
What is that, bro?
Back to the game though, right before halftime, Oman managed to clutch up and bring the game back level due to an own goal from a free kick. Listen, it doesn't matter how the ball goes into the back of the net. All that matters is it did. And no cap, it seemed like this own goal was going to cost South Korea once again, because for the longest time in the second half, despite getting the chances, the game was at a 1-1 stalemate that seemed like it wasn't going to get broken. But the man, the myth, the legend of South Korea, Heung-min Son, comes up huge for his country, and in the 82nd minute, regardless of him being surrounded by like 4 or 5 Oman defenders, takes a shot from outside the box and finishes it brilliantly into the back of the net to give South Korea a late 2-1 lead in the game. Of course, it had to be him. Who else? The script writers were cooking with this one. Oh, and Joo Min-kyu scored in the 9+11th minute. Yeah, there was a lot of ad time to secure a 3-1 win for South Korea. A huge 3 points for the East Asian country. While Oman, yeah, they're in the mud.
I am having a very bad day.
Now for the last game of match day 2 in Group B, we got Kuwait versus Iraq. And honestly, there isn't much to talk about because the game ended in a 0-0 stalemate. I do want to mention though that this flop was so obvious and outrageous, I thought he was going to get booked for diving. Instead, the Iraqi defender got sent off. What a terrible decision. Funny, but terrible. If India qualified instead of Kuwait though, we would have lost 8-0 or something for real.
Leave us alone. Leave us alone.
Anyways, with 2 match days now completed, here's how the Group B standings look like. We got Jordan on top of the table with 4 points thanks to more goals scored. Then South Korea is in second with also 4 points. Iraq is in third with also 4 points. It's tied at the top as we can see. And somehow Kuwait is in fourth with 2 points. How the hell did they get there, bruh? Then in fifth is Palestine with 1 point. They're not that far behind to be honest, it's still early days. And Oman is in dead last with 0 points.
It's not looking good, bruv.
I'm very interested in seeing how this group plays out in the following months. But enough of that. Let's go to probably my favorite group right now in Asia World Cup qualifying. Group C, where we got the likes of Japan, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, China, and Indonesia. This group has got some drama, baby, and you know I love drama, especially as a neutral. I got ties to nobody, although I do like Japan a lot. I'm gonna need that Y3 jersey for sure. That kit is so beautiful. Speaking about Japan, let's start by talking about them in their game against China at home. And man, this game was almost too easy for the Japanese. After their disappointing Asian Cup, where they lost in the quarterfinals to Iran, I thought that Japan wouldn't be able to put up multiple goal games anymore. But I was wrong. So very wrong. And this downpour of goals started off in the 12th minute, where China thought that it was still 2020 with the way they were socially distancing from Wataru Endo, who had a free header and scored off a corner kick. That's my Liverpool defensive mid, man. W Endo in the chat, please. Then right before halftime, Kaori Mitoma got a header on the back post from across into the box and scored the second to give Japan a comfortable 2-0 lead. But listen, you've heard the saying that a 2-0 lead is the most dangerous scoreline in all of football. Maybe, just maybe, China had a chance of coming back or at least snatching a draw. But the second half is when the pouring of goals truly started. Right from the 52nd minute, Minamino, my ex-Liverpool GOAT, got on the score sheet to make it 3-0. But he wasn't finished, because in the 58th minute, Minamino made it 4-0 to add on to the suffering and misery for the Chinese. But we're still not finished. In the 77th minute, Junya Ito, who for some reason was left off of Japan's Asian Cup roster, I think, what a bad mistake, got on the score sheet as well to make it 5-0. Oh, but we're still not finished, because in the 87th minute, Daiza Maeda made it 6-0, and in the 90+5th minute, Takefusa Kubo made it 7-0 to the Japanese, and that was the end result. What an amazing win for the Japanese that surely bolsters up their goal difference in this very difficult Asian World Cup qualifying group. While China, on the other hand, yeah, they are so finished.
There is no passion, there is no vision, there is no aggression.
Now I would try to find some positives for China in this game, but truly there were none. They barely had any opportunities of scoring. I think they had like 1 shot all game, and they were a total mess in the back, and their midfield was practically non-existent. All they did was give the ball away almost every chance they got. How the hell did China even make it this far, bruh? This is mad disappointing. For having a 1+ billion population, these guys are booty cheeks, but I can't say too much. After all, I am Indian, and we're 10 times worse than China.
Leave me alone.
The craziness of Group C is just beginning though, because the next game between Australia and Bahrain in the Gold Coast might have been the most surprising result of the lot. Now Australia dominated the game in terms of possession, chances, etc. Peep this, they had 72% possession with 11 shots and 4 shots on target, while Bahrain on the other hand had 28% possession and only 1 shot on target. So Australia were going off, and it seemed like eventually they would get the breakthrough and secure all 3 points. But no breakthrough arrived, and no goal was coming. They even tried something on the wonder kid, Nestoroy Irankunda, the 18-year-old who signed at Bayern Munich, but not even he could save Australia. Instead, everything went south, with Yengi on Australia getting a red card in the 77th minute due to him pulling off a De Jong World Cup 2010 final incident with a cleat to the chest. And then in the 89th minute, in what was supposed to be a cross, ended up in the ball going into the back of the net due to a very strong deflection from Sutar, which made it an own goal, which meant that at home, Australia would lose the opening match for them in the third round of qualifying to Bahrain out of all teams. Now I know it looks like that I'm trying to make Bahrain seem like a bad team or something, but the truth is they're actually not. If y'all recall, they actually topped their AFC Asia Cup group earlier this year with some good teams in it, so they have a capability of getting a win win out of nowhere. But to see them beat Australia in Australia was just something crazy. Literally less than 2 years ago, Australia made it to the round of 16 at the World Cup and almost sent the game to extra time against the eventual champions Argentina. But Emiliano Martinez saved Garanquo's chance in the last second. And speaking of Garanquo, where is that guy, man? Australia needs to call that youngster back in. He's him. But anyways, overall, Australia received a shocking loss. That's wild. Want to know something else that's wild though? It's Saudi Arabia somehow dropped points at home to Indonesia. Now Saudi seem to have unlimited wealth, with them signing the Euro 2021 winning manager Roberto Mancini to coach the squad, and the league is making rounds around the world, signing superstars like Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, Karim Benzema, etc. But for some reason, even though Saudi Arabia did pull off that crazy upset against Argentina at the World Cup, where they beat them 2-1, a game that I was actually at by the way, they've kind of been mid ever since. They disappointed at the Asian Cup, and despite Mancini coaching the team, this dude has never smiled once since being the coach, bro. This dude looks mad depressed while coaching Saudi Arabia. They might as well just replace the guy, especially after this window's performance for the national team, bro. Because in their opening game against Indonesia, Saudi were the heavy favorites to win the match with ease. But in the 19th minute, the unexpected happened, and the Saudi defense imploded while Walsh got on the end of a shot and redirected the ball into the back of the net to give Indonesia a surprising lead. Now, Indonesia are a natural team that's on a massive come up. They're leaving their rivals Vietnam in the dust. And low-key, judging off these performances, Indonesia might actually have a decent chance of at least making it to the next round of qualifying. But I'm getting a little too ahead of myself, because Al Jawair scored for Saudi Arabia towards the end of the first half to equalize the game. But then in the second half, it seemed like Saudi will get their win, because the FC Dallas goalkeeper and the Indonesian debutant, Martin Paes, made a huge mistake at the back in the 76th minute and gave away a penalty. But when the Saudi Arabian legend stepped up to take the spot kick, Al Dasari, Martin Paes came up with a huge save to rectify his mistake and keep the game at a 1-1 draw. Bro went from 0 to hero in like less than 2 minutes. That is crazy. Not only that, in the 90+3rd minute, Saudi Arabia had a 1-on-1 chance with the Indonesian debutant keeper Paes, but he made himself big and saved the shot, securing the point in the 1-1 draw against Saudi. And Paes became Indonesia's MVP during this game, while Saudi Arabia, yeah, they're in the mud. What's crazy about these results on match day 1 though, is that China's biggest ops for this round of World Cup qualifying is Bahrain and Indonesia, and both of them got points, while China ended up with 0. That's tough. But now it's time to move on to match day 2, where we also had some pretty insane results. To start us out with Bahrain versus Japan in Bahrain, it seemed like the Middle Eastern nation could potentially pull off another upset, but Japan proved that they're simply on another level compared to Australia, bro. These guys are light years ahead. That's because they destroyed Bahrain. Ueda scored 2 goals, one in the 37th minute and then one in the 47th minute. Then Morita scored 2 goals, one in the 61st minute and one in the 64th minute. And then Ogawa scored in the 81st minute to secure a final victory for Japan, meaning that in just 2 games, Japan has a plus 12 goal difference. These guys need to be nerfed for real. Let's now move on to China versus Saudi Arabia. Well, honestly, I didn't expect too much from the Chinese, especially after their disastrous performance against Japan. But China came in with a different type of energy. They wanted those 3 points. And side note, man, those Chinese home kits are so fire. What's with Asian football and dropping fire kits for real?
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
Back to the game though, China took an early lead in the match actually, and it was off a corner kick due to an own goal. We all know the saying, a goal is a goal, we take those. Not only that, things got even better for China when in the 19th minute, Mohamed Kano from Saudi Arabia struck his foot into a Chinese player's chest while he was on the ground and got sent off. So 20 minutes into the match basically, China already had a 1-0 lead at home, and they were playing against 10 men Saudi Arabia. Surely, this would be the chance for China to pull off an upset and get the World Cup qualifying campaign back on track, right?
Better. With 1 less play.
Yeah, China's kryptonite is set pieces, and they conceded to 1 10 minutes after the red card. That's tough. Now, China were actually still in the game, with Wu Lei actually having a really good chance of scoring, but his header hitting the crossbar. And with both teams going back and forth and not scoring, it seemed like both China and Saudi Arabia would share a point each and call it a day. But then, in the 90th minute, quite literally the last chance of the match, this happened.
Time running out. This could be the last chance of the game.
Yeah, China conceded in the last minute off a corner kick again, and proceeded to lose the game 2-1. And what makes this loss even worse for China is that Indonesia pulled off another upset against Australia, with them escaping with the point in the 0-0 draw against them at home, meaning that China's main opponent for a spot has got another point over them. So China, yeah, it's not looking too good. But hey, that home kit, yeah, y'all did a good job on that for real. That's probably like the only compliment I could give you guys right now. After all, you guys are literally last place with 0 points and a -8 goal difference. So I'm really trying here. Speaking about the table though, let's now go over it with both of the match days now completed. Japan are on top with 6 points, winning both of their games rather convincingly. Saudi Arabia is in second somehow, despite being disappointing. Bahrain is in third, they're making a real statement here. Indonesia is 2, with them being in 4th. Australia are very surprisingly in 5th place, that's a shocker. And then there's China. So overall, like I said, it's been pretty crazy here in Group C, and honestly all of Asian World Cup qualifying. But ladies and gentlemen, we are not finished with World Cup qualifying yet, because the South American qualifying has been absolutely insane so far this international window as well. Before we go to CONMEBOL though, I would like to remind y'all that I do got a second channel now, and you should subscribe to that for extra content and just me ranting about football. Link to the channel is in the description below. Now before this September international window took place, this is how the table looked like. like. We had Argentina in first with 15 points, Uruguay in second with 13 points, Colombia in third with 12 points, then Venezuela, then Ecuador, then Brazil at 6th surprisingly with 7 points, Paraguay in that inter-confederation playoff spot, then Chile, then Bolivia in 9th with them looking like they were dead in the water, and then Peru in last. Yeah, those guys got no hope of making it to the World Cup. I'm sorry. And spoiler alert, they're still last.
I'm gonna come up there right now and I'm gonna fucking stuff that thing up your fucking ass.
And now, heading into match day 7 of CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, out of the 5 games that happened, only 2 were normal results, quote unquote. One was Argentina beating the hell out of their arch nemesis, or one of them I should say, Chile 3-0 at home, and I mean it was to be expected, Chile didn't stand a chance. And shout out to Dybala for rocking the 10 in this game too, with Messi being out of this window injured. The 10 does kinda suit him, I'm not gonna lie. He deserves it if Messi ever chooses to retire. Then the other normal game, quote unquote, would be Brazil beating Ecuador 1-0 at home. And it was only thanks to a 30th minute Rodrigo goal that Brazil even secured the 3 points. Rodrigo took that disrespect of not being on that Ballon d'Or shortlist personally, and him not being involved on Jude Bellingham's story/post or whatever it was.
My fucking shoulder. They cut me from the picture. They just cut me from the fucking picture. They can't cut me out.
But honestly, is this even a normal result? I mean, Ecuador have somewhat of a golden generation happening, while Brazil are in the roughest state I've ever seen them in a long time. So maybe this shouldn't be a considered result as of right now. But regardless, Brazil got the 3 points. So, what games weren't normal? Well, Uruguay managed to draw Paraguay 0-0. Now, Uruguay do have a ton of suspensions right now after what happened in that Colombia versus Uruguay Copa America semifinal. Like, for example, Darwizi is banned for like 5 games for Uruguay. And no, Luis Suarez retired internationally now too. But regardless, you would expect Uruguay to get 3 points at home against Paraguay, and they didn't. So yeah, then there's Peru somehow getting a draw against Colombia. Remember, Colombia had like a 29 game unbeaten streak before the Copa America final. They were in some hot form, and all of a sudden they couldn't beat a weak Peru side. Like bro, Colombia almost lost too. In fact, they were losing 1-0 for a good part of the second half until Luis Diaz came up clutch in the 82nd minute to equalize the game late. Disappointing for Colombia, but an honorable point for Peru, I guess. But the most surprising result of match day 7 in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying has to be the game between Bolivia and Venezuela. Let me narrate everything for y'all real quick. So of course, with Bolivia playing at home, they were using the high elevation to their advantage, and they used it well, because in the 13th minute, arguably Bolivia's best player in my opinion, Ramiro Vaca, hits an outrageous strike from way downtown and hits a top bins to give Bolivia an early lead in the game 1-0. What a golazo from Vaca, man. That was one of the best goals I've seen all year. Then late in the first half, Bolivia won a penalty in the 45th plus 5th minute, and it kind of looked like a dive, I'm not gonna lie. Bro literally looked like he was about to take a dip in the ocean, but game's the game, I guess. And then Algarania stepped up to take it and slotted the ball in coolly to give Bolivia a 2-0 lead. But we're not finished yet, because at the start of the second half in the 46th minute, Terceros gets on the end of a cross and makes it 3-0. And then at the very end of the game at around the 89th minute, it was Montero's turn to get on the end of a cross, and he hit the ball in to make it 4-0 in what was a monstrous and gigantic victory for the Bolivians to potentially set their World Cup campaign back on track. Keep in mind, Venezuela are a very good team right now. In fact, they were 4th place in the standings as I mentioned earlier. So for Bolivia to knock 4 past them is wild. That elevation is really coming in handy, huh? But Bolivia don't really need that elevation anymore. You'll see why soon. Moving on to match day 8, I would say we had 2 normal games once again. Ecuador managed to beat Peru 1-0, kind of underwhelming, and it was only 1 goal, but a win is win. And then Venezuela drew Uruguay 0-0. Nothing else needs to be said about that match. It was kind of boring. But in the other 3 games, there was a huge surprise in each of them. Let's start off with Paraguay versus Brazil. The insanity started in the 20th minute, with Gomez scoring from outside the box with the outside of his boot to give his country, Paraguay, the rare lead in the match. And guess what? Even though Brazil has some star power like Rodrigo, Vinicius, Endrick, Bruno Guimaraes, Lucas Paqueta, etc., and with 71% possession and 9 shots, they couldn't find a way to score, which meant that Paraguay out of nowhere defeated Brazil 1-0 to pull off the ultimate upset. Brazil, what the hell is going on, bro? Brazil's coach, Dorival Jr., literally said that they'll be in the World Cup final in 2026, and he said there'll be no doubts. And then 24 hours later, these guys lost to Paraguay in the qualifiers. To make matters even worse for Brazil, from 2003 to 2022, which is 19 years long, they only lost 5 games in World Cup qualifying. But for the 2026 World Cup qualifiers, in 8 games, they've already lost 4. This is an international crisis for Brazil, bro. I've never seen them so weak in my life, and I've had to watch Neymar carry that sorry ass 2014 and 2018 World Cup team. So I've seen Brazil in the trenches before, but this is the worst I've ever seen them in. But I did put a tweet out recently where I said this Neymar return arc to helping his country win the World Cup after barely qualifying without him is about to be generational. And that tweet kind of blew up, but I meant what I said. With Neymar coming back and being healthy, Brazil are going to come back. Watch this space. Anyways, let's now move on to another crazy upset in the Colombia versus Argentina game. Now, if you don't recall, these two were the finalists of the 2024 Copa America, where Lautaro Martinez's extra time winner goal separated these two two sides and help Argentina win back-to-back Copa Americas and win 3 trophies in a row, 4 if you count the Finalissimo. Fair play Argentina, but Colombia wanted revenge, so much so that they even booed Argentina's national anthem when it played. What the hell? But anyways, in the game, it started off well for the Colombians, because in the 25th minute, James Rodrigo drops in a dime of a ball in front of the goal and Mosquera jumps the highest and gets to it to give Colombia the lead in the game. Where was this in the Copa America final, bro? It's not all sunshine and rainbows for Colombia though, because Nico Gonzalez for Argentina equalized the game early on in the second half in the 48th minute, and it did seem like Argentina could come away and get the 3 points. But James Rodriguez, Super James Rodriguez, comes up clutch from the spot and converts the penalty to give Colombia a 2-1 lead, something that they would keep for the rest of the game to secure all 3 points. So the practically invincible Argentina have suffered another defeat in World Cup qualifying, and now Colombia are almost guaranteed a spot at the 2026 World Cup. Fair play. And I just want to say, Viva Colombia! Sorry, I just felt like I had to say that, just in case some fine Colombian shorties are watching this video. And if you are, hey, what's good, baby girl? But now, for the biggest upset in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers so far, I must say, is this Chile versus Bolivia game. Now, Chile's national team is dog water, don't get it twisted, but this was still very impressive from Bolivia, and it started off great for the Bolivians in the 13th minute, with Algarañas getting on the end of a loose ball to give his side the 1-0 lead. But in the 39th minute, Vargas got the equalizer for Chile after a very horrendous mistake by the goalkeeper. I think he got injured or something, so maybe Vargas shouldn't have scored that goal, come to think of it, but whatever, man, game is the game. It didn't even matter in the end though, because in the 45th plus 6th minute, Terceros from Bolivia hit the ball on the underside of the crossbar into the back of the net to restore the lead for Bolivia. And this is the craziest part. Bolivia managed to hold on to that lead, meaning that on sea level, they had no elevation tactic this time. And for the first time since 1993, Bolivia won an away game in World Cup qualifying. Now that is crazy. And that's the type of stuff I want to see in these World Cup qualifiers. Seeing favorites win all the time is kind of boring, but seeing Bolivia pull off this masterclass, yeah, I like that. And to make things even crazier, Bolivia are super close to an Interconfederation playoff spot right now. They're on the same amount of points as Paraguay, but are only down below them because of goal difference. And that means there's a realistic chance that Bolivia could make the 2026 World Cup. Now that would be epic.
Now, this is epic.
And also, I know I said Brazil are in risk of not qualifying for the World Cup, but they are in 5th place right now. So I may or may not have baited you. But to be honest, they're only 1 point safe right now. Anything can happen. Better hope Neymar comes through and clutches up for the country, because they need a hero. But anyways, that's everything that has happened in the September international window for World Cup 2026 qualifying. It's pretty insane, right? I wasn't lying. This was one long video, so I hope you guys got something out of this. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Also, follow my Twitter, my Instagram. The links are in my YouTube description. And last but not least, if you want to know who I think will do well and not do well in this Champions League campaign, aka my predictions, you definitely want to check out this video right here. You won't regret it.